triggers because storage is finite. We created distributed analysis because no person or machine could process the whole system alone. Think about God, right? Think about this whole divine thing. Needed a bunch of people to process what it could create in its whole level of consciousness and this divine architecture. It may be our own architecture projected onto steel, silicon, magnets, and code. Like this is literally, we took our own self, our own consciousness, our own human condition, the ghost in the machine, and we placed it inside of technology. Think about this. If every machine we build carries the shape of the mind which built it, then the technology was never a tool. It's frozen psychology. It contained choices about what matters, what gets measured, what gets ignored, who gets access, and which errors are acceptable. The collider makes those choices in pursuit of physics. A social platform makes them in pursuit of attention and revenue. A news system makes them through deadlines and ownership and incentives and audience demand. An institution makes them through policy, or a government makes them through policy. A family makes them through memory and silence. Every system has a trigger menu. Every trigger menu creates a record, and every record becomes part of somebody's reality. So even if CERN is not truly mapping the soul, by us being able to witness all this technical stuff I talked about in the collider, it's showing us how mapping happens inside of our own selves, inside of our society, inside of this world that we've created. A world produces more information than any observer can contain. A filter turns back around and selects, and then a model reconstructs our reality. A network confirms or rejects this. The retained picture becomes the basis for the next question and the next present moment. That cycle is running in science right now. It's running in culture. It's running inside of you. And this is where sovereignty becomes very practical. And I'm going to give you some instructions here, all right? You do not need to reclaim your mind by pretending outside systems have no power. You reclaim it by learning how the selection works, then taking responsibility for the parts that you can rewrite. I use 369 as a mnemonic for this. The numbers are not a force field. They do not block CERN, cancel radio waves, activate pineal gland frequencies, or remove the need for medical care. They give the mind a rhythm, pattern, that it can remember when the feed is moving faster than thought. It allows you to slow down and be able to see the patterns inside of time, all right? So what I do is I start with 3 breaths before I open a major stream of input, okay? I get so present with that breath that it allows me to become centered in the moment. And I do it with deep gratitude. So before I watch the news, social media, interact with somebody, and think they're gonna upset me, those 3 slow breaths create a gap between the stimulus and the selection. And during that gap, I ask one question: what am I entering this stream to receive, and how can I be grateful for it? Then I make 6 observations from the physical world. This gives me perspective. Oftentimes when we make one, we create limitation. You'll notice the light falling on a wall, the sound behind you, the temperature of the air as you're witnessing this, the weight of your body against the chair, the color that you've been ignoring, the pace of your breathing. The specific objects don't matter. The act of the awareness matters. You are reminding the trigger that reality is larger than the screen. Then what I want you to do is take 9 minutes without incoming data. This is a whole reset, all right? Don't jump into a podcast or listen to this again, okay? Even though it's good for my numbers, right? Subscribe if you haven't, by the way. No person explaining what you should think. And what I want you to do is write by hand, if you can, and record what you believe happened, what you felt, and what remains uncertain. When a claim changes your emotional state, then turn back around and trace it backward. Find the original source, ask what was measured, and then even ask what was selected and what was omitted. Check whether a quotation has a primary record, and then check whether a number belongs to a system being discussed. Or was it borrowed from somewhere else? And maybe because it looked impressive, or your ego was grabbing onto something. And then do this: decide what inputs deserve repeated access to create a hypnotic rhythm of self so that the life that you live becomes more predictable and centered around you. Many people think sovereignty means becoming impossible to influence, like nothing can bother you. I used to gaslight myself with this, all right? Nobody is impossible to influence. Sovereignty means participation in the terms of influence that you choose the voices you rehearse. You choose what questions become familiar, and you choose when a pattern earns investigation and when it's feeding a loop of fear. So what I want you to do, run the protocol for 9 days. Watch what patterns begin entering your permanent record. Notice whether the ordinary physical details return. Then notice whether you can hold uncertainty longer before grabbing the first explanation. Notice which accounts make your body tighten before you even have examined a single source. Like you might be watching some of those like Reality Revolt and whatnot and be like, oh, this is a lot. I'm getting taken advantage of by the Masons or something, right? And here's the thing. What you're doing is learning to see your trigger. And once you see it, you can begin to rewrite it. So let us return to the question that we've carried into the machine. Is the Large Hadron Collider mapping the human soul? The evidence says CERN is mapping particle interactions. It's measuring tracks, energy, momentum, timing, and decay product. It's testing models of matter. There's no verified soul scanner. But what it is doing is everything that it's not measuring has life. Everything that's outside of the current models that it has are the ghosts that are inside of the machine. And it's not for us to figure out what that means. But what it is up to us to figure out is that everything that we have not measured, all of the triggers that we've been conditioned to, have created ghosts in our lives, demons in our lives, angels in our lives, entities in our lives outside of the physical realm of what we can perceive. And now every single one of us is trying to figure out how to get to those different areas. Because in this concept of suffering, in this human condition that we live in sometimes, it becomes really challenging. And we want to escape and go somewhere else. We want to figure out something outside of ourselves. And I'm going to give you a secret that probably no other video will give you. Once you have the level of awareness that we just talked about, once you see that you are literally embedding your consciousness in everything that you experience, and once you can get to that center point, you find a state of sovereignty where you can breathe gratitude into every moment. And then what will take place is that you'll start witnessing what the ghosts are, what the angels are, what the demons are, what the entities are, what the extraterrestrials are that live in these other dimensions, because you'll stop limiting the perspective that you have based on the conditions and the triggers that you've already set. So the goal of this is to bring attention back to the person who's truly living this life. In 2030, the upgraded collider is going to come back. It's going to be larger and more expansive than ever. All the potential is going to be more, and that's going to be a recognition of the human mind and where we are going to go. The capacity is going from 40 million to 5 billion interactions every second. Think about what that means. If that's a reflection of us, then there's more potential that we will see that we have not seen before. This is just a process of our evolution. So it's not to be afraid of CERN or what's coming. What it's about right now is for us to gather the level of awareness that this happened very intentionally for us to wake up to ourselves, to see the potential outside of the limited reality that we've been creating. And when we can do that, whether it's through our breath, through deep signs of gratitude, through a perspective awareness to rewrite the script and the triggers of our lives so that we have the capacity to hold more than we have held. Because as Yeshua says, you will do these works and greater works than I have done. So what does that mean for you to become a miracle worker in your own life and take these teachings and these learnings and apply them to the world that you live in? I know you got this. If you like this and you made it this far, thank you. And I love you. And subscribe. It means a lot to me, okay? We'll see you on the next one.